to the Empowered Podcast. My name is Emily Arth. I'm a psychotherapist, an educator, and a creator. And this is a place where I talk about ways to connect your head and your heart to live the most abundant life possible. You are logging into a special series, which is called the HEALER'S Guild, where I'm bringing you an array of different healers who are discussing how their modalities can help you overcome difficulties in your life. Today, it is my joy to introduce to you Connie Jacoby, who is the owner of Wise Women Botanicals, located in Moberly, Missouri. This is a wellness center offering holistic approaches to healing. She serves a greater area of rural communities to bring health and healing to the masses. She's a naturopath and a nurse of 28 years who's utilizing God's generously supplied plants for health and wellness of all persons to access affordably with good intention and energy. She's a supplier of information, allowing people to regain control of their own health. She empowers all people to use their mind in all areas of their life. So welcome, Connie.
Thank you very much for having me.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for being here. Will you start by sharing with everyone a bit about your story and the progression of the work that you do?
I'm in a rural community that is very close to my heart. I was born near here, and I have my family farm is here. It's established in the mid-1800s, 1850 something, and there has been such a glut or a starvation of natural health medium and naturopaths and homeopaths, and people have been searching for a very long time. And we knew when I was a kid, we were farmers, and you knew where you got your food, you knew what you ate, and how to take care of yourself at all times. And the overall outlook and the climate had changed over a period of years to where we had gotten more and more into utilizing things that were created for us, whether they were pharmaceutically created or whatever, and physicians became less involved in taking things and finding out something instead of giving a pill or prescribing something. It was when I went to the doctor when I was a kid, he'd go back in the back room and bring out something and mash it up, and just like a apothecary would, and then say, okay, you need to try this, or heaven forbid he'd get out a needle and a syringe and give me a shot. But we've gotten so far away from finding out the cause. I mean, we used to think, well, you had a stomachache, then something you'd find out what you ate, you'd find out what went on. It wouldn't automatically be something. And so we've gotten so far away from finding the root of problems that we treat symptoms, or people in the medical community treat symptoms. So I wanted to bring back to the community that raised me a positive and viable source for them to be able to come in and learn about symptoms versus the root of the problems, and learn to use their mind and think, because we've gotten so used to just, oh, well, the doctor will tell you, or whatever. So and teaching information is necessary for you to become your own controller of your health, and especially your families. That's where I feel like we're heading back to, but it's so hard to find people that are. It's difficult to find people that have that and don't want something for it. You can walk in and talk to me anytime, or call me, and I don't charge to do those things. The thing is to make you knowledgeable so you can take control, you can decide what you need, and just teaching people how to take care of themselves and their family.
I think that's a beautiful mission, and I'm totally on board with empowering people to make their own choices and to step into their sovereignty. I know just earlier today, one of my clients logged on and was prescribed a new medication by a physician a couple weeks ago, you know, for her mental health. And it has resulted in her feeling very sick to her stomach every day. She was crying, she was distressed, distraught. And I talked about, you know, your medical care is still a service and you still have choice, you know, that you first and foremost have to listen to your body and of course be in communication with your healthcare providers. But, you know, I see a lot of people who they just defer all of that power and responsibility to someone else, and they're not even listening to their own wisdom.
Because it's still there. You just have to, you just have to go back in your mind. I'm in my late 60s and I'm hinging on that big 70. And more than anything else, people, you didn't go to the doctor every time you turned around. You know, you had a fever, then you bundled up to make it warmer to get over it because your body's trying to fix something. And, you know, we did the same thing for our animals. We're animals, so why would you not look at something one way and go forward with what you already know? It's a dangerous thing to rely on someone else to make your decisions. And once you empower that person to make the decisions, it will seemingly even reduce your ability or your want to, so to speak, to take care of yourself. So that's people just have to start looking at their own bodies, their families' health issues, but more than anything else, you know, get information. Don't just fall into this rut of, oh well, you know, I can go over and buy something over the counter and take the fever away. Look at what's happening to you or your child or whatever.
Yes. So you empower people through information and education. In terms of the remedies that you teach people about or offer, what are some of those remedies?
We've been given plant-based, quote unquote, medicine. I mean, it's what we should be looking at. Herbs and trees and grasses, and all of these things have been given to us for our use. That it's if you believe in God, then you believe that that's part of what He's given us, or a creator, however, whatever entity you want to place in that. But it's here. It is a singly most important thing to realize that we are what we eat. We are what we put in our body. You cannot run an engine on poor fuel. You have to pay attention to what you're doing. And that in itself is just the moniker with which people should look at. I mean, that's from eons and eons ago. Essential oil-based products, herbs and tinctures, herbs by themselves, raspberry leaf tea, just for instance, my gosh, it's one of the most balancing type of teas for hormone and female hormone maladies that there probably is. And how many people even think about, oh, no, well, you can take a pill. Well, if you will ingest something that has been placed here for that, it's just like dealing with the SEAC tinctures or SEAC tea for various forms of overgrowth of cells or cancers and so on and so forth. All these things were here. Before we had them, before we accepted usage of these things nowadays, when it was back in the 30s and 40s and even 20s and before, you had an apothecary you went to, and he would mix up your herbs. He would mix up your tea. He would say, okay, you need to do this and do this. Dandelion root tea. Get some dandelions out of the yard, get the roots, clean them off, dry them, and then make a tea out of it. It will help reduce swelling and edema. It's so simple to do things, but you learned what to do instead of going, oh, I need a diuretic, and the doctor giving you something like Lasix or something else, but making choices. So all of the herbs, we have essential oil products, I actively make our CBD and CBG and products with cannabinoids that are without THC. They don't contain anything such. And being able to know how to use something, whether you use it in a cream or a tincture, there's so many things. You can utilize essential oils, you can utilize CBD, you can utilize herbal tinctures or teas. So there's 4 just expanded areas that each one has its own viability, and it's based on what you like to or how you want to work within your own system to affect a change, to get to the root of the problem and affect a change that's positive to make you feel better or be well.
Yes. Yes. So all kinds of different remedies that you're working with that are personalized depending on the case. And so you mentioned, tinctures and CBD. And in the area that I work in, which is trauma focused work, many of my clients, I'd say the vast majority, have chronic pain issues. And we know that pain in the body, pain registers in the same place in the brain, whether it is physical pain or emotional pain. So basically, according to your brain, it doesn't know whether the pain is emotional or physical, which is why people that live with chronic emotional pain also tend to develop chronic pain elsewhere in their body, which is frustrating because they can go see traditional medical doctors or even specialists, and they may have all kinds of tests done, and they're not finding a quote unquote physical reason for the pain, right? Because no bones are out of place or anything like that, which can make them feel crazy. And so I was wondering if you would talk more about the use of CBD, because that's a very important remedy for people who have trauma-related pain going on. And so how do you use that, and what are the benefits of that?
Extreme important points of CBD. There are over hundreds of different cannabinoids in the cannabis hemp plant. All cannabis is hemp based. The family genus is hemp. So cannabis is the next family name, and then you have various types of cannabis, which each one produces different cannabinoids or types of terpenes in that plant. And a terpene is a certain type, it's like an essential oil of cannabis. So let's say CBD is cannabinoid, okay, it just hands down. CBG is another form of a terpene, cannabinol, and both of them work in almost every single type of cannabinoid in the plant will help with reducing inflammation. I'm getting to a point here. I know it's a little roundabout, but inflammation causes pain. If you have your body says, oh, well, there's stress going on, your body sends out inflammation to pad and might soften and do it, but it sends out so much that it usually causes anxiety. It causes nerve endings and capillaries in the brain and body-wide to be sort of squished or squeezed or contained. And when it does that, it doesn't realize it, but that inflammation stays there. So reducing inflammation and reducing the production of the inflammation is the very most important thing that any kind of cannabinoid can do, whether it's CBD, CBG, CBC, CBA, THC, THCA, and so on and so forth. So all of them reduce inflammation. Therefore, you reduce stress and anxiety by reducing the inflammation that's placed in the brain in the areas that you have pain or stress. Again, you know all about that, and it's so phenomenal. So CBD is widely known now. I mean, very few people have not heard of it. Probably in rural areas and in metropolitan areas, I imagine that it's upwards 75, 85% that have definitely heard of it, but know enough to be at least to know that it's an entity, and probably over 50% of those people have used it. So knowing what one cannabinoid will do in your receptor system, we have an endocannabinoid system that runs in the major organs of our body. So you have pancreas, liver, gallbladder, so on and so forth. Those receptors have been empty for all of these years because we have not used cannabinoid products in our body to reduce inflammation and production of it. So if you will reduce that inflammation production ahead, then you will have less anxiety. Pain won't be as intense. I'm going to say probably 70% of pain, whether it's from broken bones or bruises or whatever else, is still caused by inflammation that your body produces trying to fix it. So CBD, CBG, and there's another whole element that goes right along with that. Processed CBD becomes CBDA, CBG, CBGA. There's an acid chain on the end of it, and THC, THCA. And the acid chains work within the COX-1 and 2 receptors in your body, which is where 90% of hard pain comes from. That's the receptors that opiates hit. So if it's something that we could do to help to reduce it at that receptor site, then you're doing the very same thing that your body wants it to do to try and reduce the overall angst with which we deal with pain. So pain, anxiety, those are two of the major things. You can also use various forms of CBD products, like I have something called Monster CBD Plus, and Monster is super high. It's 14 essential oils blended in with CBD and in a cream base, and you topically apply it, and it reduces angst. It helps with sleep. It will help and reduce the signs and symptoms of ADD, ADHD, autism, and tics, like tic-douloureux, and so on and so forth. So we combined the good parts. We combined the essential oils that help and have helped, but we added CBD to it so that the receptor sites would be full, and then the body could learn how to relax and not produce as much inflammation so that sleep can occur, anxiety is reduced, attention is so much better, and so on and so forth. So that's where we want to get. We want to get to the end where we were using the receptors that our body has had in it since the beginning of time.
Yes. So, and Monster, you know, for those listening, Monster is an incredible product that I've recommended to a lot of my clients. And then don't you also have just a Monster spray that maybe doesn't have the CBD for sleep and nightmares?
Yeah, that's right. You can do Monster spray on pillows. We have adults that take it with them to work when they get, because of all of the angst that's going on now, the anxiety, stress levels, they have to go back to work. Well, am I going to be safe there? What's happening? So on and so forth. People take that with them to work and use it topically because it will relax. It just heaven only knows. It's one of those miracle things that who would have thought that you could help a child have attention in a classroom and pay attention to what was going on, and a person at work reduce their angst when they're having to deal with difficult situations. It's just amazing. It's good.
Yeah, and it's empowering to have these tools that, like you said, are natural plant-based tools, because a lot of people, when they feel like they can only access the help they need through the traditional medical routes, you know, the treatment for ADHD is a controlled medication. And so even just getting that medication is a hassle because you have to get a monthly prescription for it and all of these things. And so knowing that there are other natural options that we can try it helps instill a lot of hope. I was also going to say, I'm glad that you mentioned about the opiate receptors, because, you know, I just noticed over the years of working with trauma survivors that I have many chronic pickers and nail biters. And I
Right.
myself have had nail biting issues my whole life. And so I did more research into that and looked at the evidence-based work on it, which revealed that when we inflict pain, you know, similar to cutting behaviors, which of course are more severe, but a lower level would be picking or nail biting, that releases natural opiates. And that's why people who are in chronic physical or emotional pain tend to develop these habits of picking and nail biting. And so hearing that, yeah, we have this cannabinoid receptor system that's for many people starved because we haven't been using these products, and that can help to fill in the gaps where we need those receptors to be satiated, I guess you could say.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's not a guessing game so much as it is when you go to a healthcare professional and they say, here, try this, and if that doesn't work, then I'll get you something else. This is something you may not care for the scent that's involved in one. So fine, let's adjust what we need to adjust. All of it, every type of malady and person should be given the individualized service to be able to make adjustments. So fine, if you need an additional bump in a hormone balance cream, fine, let's add some extra primrose or let's do something else. Everything should be individualized. That's very, very important. All care should be individualized, and the person take the part in it. Would you like to utilize this? And then maybe we'd like to have something called Calm with an Attitude. It will lower hypomania and angst and help with sleep with trauma people. And it's a tincture made out of herbs and a glycerin base, and you just take a tablespoon. And you have to be serious about it, because ingesting something, so you know that ingesting a liquid, you'll actually gain about 85 to 90% of that product if you ingest liquid. If you apply it topically, you'll get between 80 and 90% of whatever you're putting on your skin, because your skin's the largest organ, and it works so phenomenally well. So no matter which item it is, if you don't want to do it, if you don't want to take it internally and you want to apply it topically, or you want to do it sublingually, or we have ways to do all of those things. It doesn't mean you won't find a solution. It means that there are many, many more solutions for you to pick from.
Yes.
So
again, is empowering to know. I know you have a tincture. Is it a creatinine for the blood sugar? And I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and following that, I had a lot of different health events happen that got my whole body out of balance. And one of them was developing some issues with blood sugar management. And when I got that figured out, I just happened to go to one of your talks where you mentioned this creatinine tincture. And that knocked my blood sugar right down. I mean, I think I used one bottle, and then now, I mean, I've never taken insulin or anything, but I'm just on a maintenance dose of medication, and that was powerful.
that's you mentioned the Rocky Mountain spotted fever too. I am going to have opening a single blind study and interview people that deal with that and all tick-borne illnesses. So I'm just started working on the parameters of it last night, because there's so many people across the country, but here in particular, and that are dealing with this. And oh my gosh, who they say that there's not a cure, but it's viral, and there are cures for virus-based maladies. So you can't stop just because somebody says, oh, well, there's no cure for it. Oh, it's not even here. But more than anything else, we look at this from the standpoint, again, individualized care, individualized purpose, and empowering a person to say, okay, you can go this route, and if if the tinctures have the availability to go in and help rectify that that type of illness or malady, they will, because you know our Creator doesn't make any bad stuff. He
I'm
does.
so grateful that you're looking into that, because you're right. The tick-borne illness thing is a major problem. I read an article that said that in 10 or 15 years we'll probably look back at the way the medical system, right, has not addressed tick-borne illnesses the same way we look back at how HIV/AIDS was originally treated, and how it felt like an extremely neglectful approach to a major problem. And like you said, in our area especially, there's a high rate of people that develop tick-borne illnesses.
And tick-borne illnesses, by their overall action and the viral effect, the RNA, and how it works in your system, and if it's not addressed, in a certain way, then it keeps returning and recurring, but it's mutated at that point. How many people? I'm working on a project for a gentleman that has ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and I personally, I'm almost positive that some virus has been part of the cause of that malady for that man, just because they don't pay attention to viruses. You can't fix a virus. There's nothing for a virus. That's wrong. There is, but can you imagine the number of maladies that have been brought about that we don't associate with tick-borne illnesses, that they have gone in and that's caused deterioration of mental capacity, deterioration of muscles, all of these things can be, and I believe might be linked to tick-borne illnesses. Has to be viral. If the other things don't work, why is it happening? So I just, like I said, the Lyme Alliance out of Kansas City, I'm working with a couple of people that are involved in that, and we're going to try, and like I said, we're going to do a study with regards to this, and I'm looking for volunteers that will at least fill out interview sheets so that we can gain all the information we can in age groups from 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50 and up. And at that point in time, then group people to where we can have one of the most effective information centers for people to be able to contact. I'm excited about it. Probably way too much, maybe not. I don't think.
No, it's very exciting, and I'm glad that you're sharing it with us. Yeah. Well, to sum us up, I think that for sure all of this is about empowerment and choices, and knowing that there's always hope out there, and that if you feel like you have exhausted the mainstream resources, just know that there are other people out there who are ready and willing to help you with individualized treatment, to dig deeper into coming up with remedies for whatever problem exists. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Connie. I really appreciate your knowledge and your wisdom. You're a wealth of knowledge. And to those who are tuning in with us, thank you so much for tuning in. I will drop Connie's information and links below this recording so that you're able to find her resources easily. And I definitely encourage you to check out all of her offerings. Connie, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, I'm the one that's honored. Thank you.
You're welcome. Be well.
You too.